Only weirdos and losers would go to a Disney park by themselves, right? Well, maybe, maybe not. One question I get asked a lot, is about people visiting Disney parks by themselves, or even other theme parks like Six Flags and Cedar Point. Isn't that weird? Isn't that creepy? Isn't there just something strange and awkward about that? What kind of odd person would go to a park by themselves? What do they do? Ew! And that kind of idea gets filtered over to people who are thinking about maybe going by themselves. But isn't that strange? And aren't people going to look at them weird? And here's why it's nice sometimes to go to a park by yourself. Because it's really not weird. I promise. One thing that a lot of people may not realize is actually the large number of people that go to parks by themselves. In fact, when I was working at Disney, I would probably put the number close to 5%. And I know you're thinking, well, yeah, that means 95% of people aren't. But you start breaking those people down into groups of 4, 5, 6, and suddenly you start realizing that really it comes down to about 1 in every 15 groups, 10 to 15, is actually a person by themselves. That's actually a pretty decent number of people or groups that are out there on their own at the parks. And yes, I've done it. When my kids were young, I was a stay-at-home dad. And one of the ways that I helped keep my sanity during that time was I had what I called Dad's Day Out. And at least once a month or so, I would just go out, leave the kids with my wife for the evening, and I would go do something. Maybe it was all day, maybe it was part of a day. But probably half of those trips were to theme parks. Magic Mountain was about 45 minutes away, and so it was an easy trip to drive out, go ride some coasters, go have some fun, and yeah, a lot of those were by myself. I probably estimate that somewhere around 30 to 40% of my trips to theme parks are just me. And that's okay. I'm far from alone. As a photographer at Disney, I saw a lot of people by themselves and having a great time. And no, people didn't think they were weird. In fact, most people had no clue they were even there. And outside of the employees or cast members or the characters, nobody paid any attention. The characters, of course, would know. Actually, I saw some of the neatest interactions with people who were there by themselves. They were able to spend more time with the character because they didn't have everybody else in their group vying for attention. They were able to have some great interactions. I saw some awesome poses with people that they got to do just them that they wouldn't get to do otherwise. My daughter, when she got to meet Gaston, had a great time. Just her and Gaston. Nobody else. It made for a lot of fun and a lot of opportunities that people could have that you just wouldn't get when you're trying to compete with a group. You could ask the characters questions you might not be able to otherwise. Characters had a great time with it. No, the characters aren't going to think you're weird if you're by yourself. It doesn't mean you're strange or awkward or anything. It just means you're by yourself. And it absolutely gives you some big advantages. You're not having to worry about other people's schedules, what other people want to do, what they want to eat, where they want to go. You're able to pretty much do whatever you'd like, go where you want, when you want, how you want it, and it gives you flexibility that you don't have when you've got other people. One of the things that I found neat with solos is, as a Disney cast member, I got to strike up more conversations with people solo because they had time to talk. It actually, some of my favorite interactions with guests were when I was working and they had nobody else with them. They were by themselves. They could stand there and they could have a conversation. They could talk about whatever, about where I was from, because our name tags all said where we were from, sports and things like that. I had a few times where I was shooting on Main Street and I had somebody that was by themselves, friendly but on their own, and they would stand there and talk to me, and I would shoot some pictures of a family, and then we would talk a little bit more, and then I would shoot pictures of another family, then we'd talk a little bit more. Had some great interactions that way. Actually ended up meeting a couple people from my hometown that way who were there by themselves, and we just got to strike up some conversation. Really a lot of fun. One of my favorite interactions I had with a guest was actually a gentleman who was there by himself, young guy in his 20s, and he was just out enjoying Epcot and having a ball. He was from San Francisco because as I took some pictures of him and, hey, let's show you around the world a little bit, got to spend some extra time because he didn't have to worry about what other people wanted to do. Well, as I finished up the interaction and he's saying thank you so much, he pulls out a big, huge chocolate bar. Dude, now you're speaking my language. And I remember it because it was a Ghirardelli chocolate bar. Now, he didn't realize there was a Ghirardelli store down at Disney Springs, downtown Disney at the time, but he was telling me about how it was from San Francisco. And I got to say, hey, yeah, look, California. I went to San Francisco all the time. I remember the Ghirardelli factory. I remember going down to the pier and the wharf in San Francisco and seeing the big Ghirardelli sign, and we had a great talk about it. And here he has a Ghirardelli bar for me. Oh yeah, I love that. He was just having a great time by himself. I do remember a couple guys that would come up to some of the princesses and just having some wonderful conversations. Being solo at the parks gave me a lot of opportunities to do things I may not have been able to do if I was with other people too. I love when I get to go on solo photography trips. My last trip to Magic Kingdom, in fact, last July, was a solo day. We were down there for business meetings and everything. I had an annual pass that was about to expire. Nobody else was up in the morning, and I was like, you know what? We got nothing going today. I'm going to Magic Kingdom. See y'all later. And I took my camera gear with me, and I just had a great time there for most of the day. It was pouring rain in the morning, and so I got all these pictures of me doing stuff in the rain and the photographers in the rain that we wouldn't have gotten to do otherwise, that honestly my family wouldn't have done because they wouldn't have wanted to stand out in the wet. So I got to play in that regard. I got to take time and take pictures I wanted to take and videos I wanted to do and kind of make it up as I went in a way that I couldn't with my family, because if I wanted to take pictures, then they're all standing around waiting for me. If I wanted to shoot video, they're standing around waiting for me. So it made it very nice from a photographer standpoint, from a videographer standpoint, to be able to have that time alone to kind of catch as much of this footage as I possibly could. So that way when I come home and make videos, I've actually got some pictures and B-roll footage and other things like that to be able to put in and make them more interesting. I also got to capture a whole lot of memories, and I got to get some really unique photos we got to play with as a solo that we may not have been able to do if I'd had other people around. It gave me an opportunity to talk to photographers, and even with a couple, they were kind of like, well, what do you do? It was funny because I had a couple that had no idea what to do with the creative shots. And so I just started making up stuff, and they were kind of like, that's really cool. Where'd you get that idea from? I'm like, okay, let me talk to you just a little bit from an old photographer. And gave them some ideas of other things they could try out while they were out there. Yeah, I know, okay, it's the old know-it-all in me, sorry. But it opened up some doors as a solo guest that I wouldn't have had otherwise. Advantages of being by yourself if you're in line for a ride that's busy. There's single rider lines, which you can take advantage of. And I've had a lot of times even where as I've gone through the line and gotten up near the boarding, you can see an empty seat up ahead of you near the front, near the back where you want to go. And you can oftentimes work your way into seats earlier than if you were with a group. You know, let the ride operators know, hey, I'm solo, I can take that spot. I got to save so much time in line being a single because I could skip around and fill empty holes that other people weren't. It was awesome that way to be able to do it. It meant a lot more rides and a lot more that I was able to do by myself than I could as a group a lot of times. And it just allows you to have so much more fun. Is it weird to go to a park solo? No. Can you do a lot when you're by yourself? Absolutely. Should you be afraid of being at a park solo? Definitely not. Go have some fun. So have you been to a park by yourself? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What'd you think? I'd love to hear. Do you have advice for people going by themselves? Please share it in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button. Got somebody thinking about a park by themselves? Well, share the video with them. Let them know it's okay. It's not strange. Don't forget to hit that notification bell as well so you can know anytime I've got a new video. Be sure to check out the description. Tons of info there. In fact, if you're going to ask a question, check the description first. There may be answers there about fan pages, equipment, and all sorts of other stuff. It's also got links to my YouTube memberships and my Patreon page to get a lot of extra perks, early previews, behind the scenes information. In exchange, they help me go on some of these solo trips I was talking about to do the photography and the B-roll footage and do so much more that I could do that I couldn't do without them. And a special shout out to John T for signing on as a brand new patron. Thank you so much, John. And thank you to everybody else who's watching as well. I wouldn't be doing this without you watching, so I appreciate you so much. God bless. I still remember one gentleman that was telling me, okay, no, that was, okay, I'm mixing up like 3 stories there. That would have been really weird. Where was I going? So some of my most, oh my goodness. I just totally lost track of what I was doing. Get on. I'm just going to stand here and stare at the lens and see if I can remember what I was going to say. Because my train just derailed, crashed, and burned. My family's waiting outside. You can come in! So a huge shout out to my supporters, including Dusty... Nope, not Dusty T. If you'd like to know about my merchandise, fan pages, and more, be sure to check the description below. If you'd like to know whenever I've got a new video posted, well, make sure you hit that button right up there and subscribe. If you'd like to watch another one of my videos, I've got a great one for you right here. And if you'd like to be like these wonderful people here and support me financially on Patreon, well, make sure you check the link right there. There's even some extra perks for them. Thank you so much, and God bless.